expectations based off the fairy tale for what a relationship should look like, for what a man should provide, for what a man should be, and it's all to serve her because I got saved from the castle, Rapunzel got saved, Cinderella got saved, all of these people got swept off their feet and they got saved. The Prince Charming saved the day. So now we have these expectations that we should be chased. We have these expectations that we should be served. We have these expectations. Welcome back, Jewels and Gems, to another pre-talk on the Vantage Point. I'm your lady, Zandi Malinki, and we're back another week. I'm much more relaxed than last week because I was definitely on one. I was, but I'm back much calmer, and I pray everybody had a great week. It's Friday, and I hope your week was less hectic than mine because it definitely gets real over here. Okay, I don't have long. I really just wanted to do this video, and it's a pre-talk, but it's going to end up being a post-talk because I'll post after tonight's interview with Reverend Dr. A.J. Varma, my teacher, my leader. I like to say my teacher's your favorite teacher's teacher. Yeah, you'll get it in time. But anyway, he's joining us, and we're having a conversation about fairy tales. He actually wrote a book called Children's Fairy Tales Breed Adult Religions. Yeah, that's a bold title, but he has some bold answers and some bold realities behind it. Now, the reason for this conversation is not just introducing the topic, but this is a big one for me, right? This is something that I had to really peel back and ask questions, and I continue to peel back and ask questions because I'm big on the illusion. I'm big on perception. I'm big on understanding how the God of this world, which is the devil, 2 Corinthians 4:4, how the Shaitan, every scripture speaks about the devil by his many names, how he today deceives us and leads us away from scripture and puts us in a place where we're not perceiving reality. So today's conversation is going to be based in that, based on that topic. Now, it's crazy because today, right, I see it so much clearer than I ever did before. I've never seen, even though I knew the different things that were taking place in the world, although I knew there's a lot of corruption and deception, although I knew these things, right, I did not really understand how fairy tales plays a big part, a huge role in our lives. And because now I can see it better, now because I can perceive it better, just from looking at how we dress, just from seeing how we behave and seeing our expectations and relationships and just in life, right? Like it just amazes me how we are so far into the illusion and that we don't even get a chance to see it, that we don't see it. Sometimes it makes me sad for future generations if we're unable to self-correct. And I think that's where a lot of the passion comes from, is because we're raising our future. And if we continue to perpetuate the lies to our future, it will only get worse from here. The results, okay? That part, the results are going to be just terrifying. The reality is that fairy tales is not just a book. It's not a storybook. It's not what we think it to be. When I mention fairy tales to someone, they're like, oh yeah, but I'm not into fairy tales. And I thought that too. Initially, I'm like, I've never been, even as a child growing up, don't think I watch many fairy tales like a lot of people. I don't really know all the fairy tale stories. I didn't know all the fairy tale stories, or wasn't big on like Cinderella and Rapunzel and things like that. However, understanding now that the fairy tale is not a storybook. It's not about Humpty Dumpty. It's not about name all the fairy tales, right? Anyone you want to think of. It's not just about Cinderella, Rapunzel, and all of these stories. It's about the storyline. And because it's so infused into everything that we have a desire for, we desire a lifestyle that's based on someone else's fairy tale book that they gave us. and we now live in this fairy tale. There's a difference, see, between reality, illusion, and imagination. And these three things makes it very clear. And if we really look at it, and we look at the things that we desire, the lifestyle that we desire, it shows us how we perpetuate this illusion, not just to ourselves but even to our children. For example, right, you can have a guy and he really had a dream of being in the NBA or being in the NFL, and he now has a son. So he tries to raise this son to live out his dream or his fairy tale of being in the NBA or being in the NFL. Now, before you come for me in the comments, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying you shouldn't dream big. I'm not saying you shouldn't shoot for the stars. I'm not saying that you shouldn't make your child feel like they can do anything they put their mind to. That's not where I'm coming from. What I'm saying is that we have these fairy tale desires for a lifestyle, for a particular thing that we think will bring us that lifestyle. And because of the fairy tale that promoted it, right? And the reason I say sports is because I was like, no, not sports. I love sports. I love basketball. I love football. But my teacher is teaching it, and he's telling me that no, that too is a fairy tale. I mean, it is called fantasy football. I used to place bets. And I said, it is called fantasy football for a reason. There's this fantasy or this storyline that's infused in sports where it's like, LeBron James, he got into LeBron James, he did this, and whoa, his son, will he make it to see his son? Oh my God, his son's gonna be in it. It's like, it's crazy. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't like sports, but we have to be able to separate ourselves, that we're not crying about a player, that we're not upset and ready to fight because our team lost, that no reality will bring about those type of emotions. See, illusion plays on your emotions. Illusion makes you feel like you're so connected to the storyline. You're so connected to the character. So instead of it just being a sport that's being played and us encouraging the players and us watching and enjoying the sport, we are now more connected to the storyline. We're connected to the lifestyle. We're connected to the illusion that is infused in that sport. So now it's like, oh my God, but no, this player is better than that player. And oh my God, he did this and he did, oh my God, and his son. And we're into their life, and we're into their personal life. We're into all of these things that has nothing completely just to do with the sport. But because it's being marketed, because it needs to be profited off of, because it is part of their act, right? The European, the Greeks, the Romans, all these people, which we still see today, are actors. They always had to imagine. They always had to put on a play. They put on a show. And in order for us to be a star, we have to be a star. We have to be a cast member. We have to be a part of their play. Now, when they're done with you, they're going to throw you away, take all your money, right? It's not like you really reach this level of success. They just let you be in the show, because if I take a black person that looks like you and I put them in a movie, now I can make you believe the illusion. I can now play on your imagination, right? If I have a belief, and we'll get into the religion later with Reverend Dr. A.J. Rama. But if I have a belief, right, as a Muslim living in a Muslim country, that will shape my beliefs and what I believe to be true. How I interpret the Quran, how I interpret the scriptures will be based off of my belief system, where I live, what is surrounding me, what is being taught to me. Same thing if I'm Indian or if I'm Chinese and I'm living in whatever country and I'm being taught Chinese religion, Chinese doctrine, that's going to shape my beliefs, right? So if we believe in a God and how God was given to us, and we believe that God is this mystical thing, because I believe in this God, but I'm unable to perceive it in the way that it's being given. not the reality, but because this God is being given to me in this mystical, magical way, my imagination has to make sense of it for me. So now I'm believing that God is speaking to me and we're having this divine communication, and God knows and I know, and he told me, and then I said back and he said back and we said back, and now we rapping, now we talking. I'm sorry. That's where my mind went. But you understand that now, because of an unrealistic belief was given to me, my imagination has to help me make sense of it. If I'm a black woman and I believe that the white woman is beautiful, and you might say, I don't believe, subconsciously, however, it happens because they're all over the TV, they're in the beauty industry, everything is wrapped around the European beauty standard, and it's been like that far before you've seen a lot of more black people or African people on mainstream TV in the industry, right? So because this has been subconsciously planted in your mind that the European image of a white woman is beautiful, but my reality says that I'm not white. My reality says that I don't look like that. My reality says that I'm not shaped like that. My reality says that we're two different people. Now my imagination has to make it real for me. Oh, but I can be like that. So I'm going to take this image of Rapunzel or this image of Cinderella, these fairy tales, and now it's going to look like this. Now it's going to look like me having long straight hair. I was in the airport and this girl had weave literally down almost to her feet, almost like 1 inch away from her feet. The weave that's being worn is so long and voluptuous and beautiful. But why? Because if indigenous African people did not look like that, we did not have long, straight, blonde hair. It just wasn't our image. And that's okay. That's okay that it wasn't our image, but are we able to recognize that we are living in a fairy tale? And not only is it showing up physically in our appearance as black women or as men wanting to be these superheroes, because really Prince Charming is the pimp, right? So everybody who's trying to be a pimp is really Prince Charming. We're going to get into that later. But because I believe in this as a male, black man or a black woman, subconsciously, consciously, then it will show up in how I dress, how I physically present myself, and it shows up in my expectations. Because black women today have expectations, false expectations, based off the fairy tale for what a relationship should look like, for what a man should provide, for what a man should be, and it's all to serve her. Because I got saved from the castle, Rapunzel got saved, Cinderella got saved, all of these people got swept off their feet and they got saved. The Prince Charming saved the day. So now we have these expectations that we should be chaste. We have these expectations that we should be served. We have these expectations that don't even correlate in any type of way with scripture, but is in fact a false reality, a fairy tale, an illusion, a deception that has been given to us by the God of this world. That's the devil again. 2 Corinthians 4:4. It's just amazing how well they've done this. And so it's so hard for us to see it. But I'm here to say we're going to make it clear tonight on the Vantage Point with Reverend Dr. AJ Varma. So if you're watching this video, go click on that video if you haven't seen it. So again, we're looking at how the fairy tale shows up in our lives, in our thinking, in our expectation, because it's ruining our relationships, it's ruining our parenting, it's ruining our lives, because we're not living in reality. Because if I say, let's work on, building a school, if the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah is saying, let's talk nation building, let's talk doing for self and kind, let's talk come out of her, my people, be not partakers of their iniquities, nor receive of their plagues. If we start talking scripture that says that we should be doing for ourselves, that's a different story now. See, that's a different story that you're talking about building, because that doesn't fit the fairy tale. The fairy tale didn't tell you to grow your own food. The fairy tale didn't tell you to sew your own clothes. The fairy tale didn't tell you that you can do it. The fairy tale didn't say that you are superior. The fairy tale didn't say that you have the intelligence. The fairy tale told you to be what black people are majority of of Black people today, living in the West in a fairy tale mentality. So, I'm not looking for a Black man. Mm-mm. I'm looking for a Black man with a white man's thinking. I'm looking for a Black man with a white man's mentality. I'm not looking for a Black woman. I'm looking for a Black woman with a white woman's mentality. How do I know? Because I want the Black woman with the straight hair and long weave and everything false, false nails, false this, false. I want Cinderella. So if you're a Black man and you're not looking for a real Black woman, you too are part of the fairy tale. You too are looking for, and I had someone say that to me one time before, like, yeah, I just want a white Black girl or a Black white girl. Now it all makes sense. Now it all makes sense. So the lifestyle that we're expecting to have, if I'm watching Housewives of Atlanta, if I'm watching Love and Hip Hop, see, now they're showing me a lifestyle, and now I want to manifest that lifestyle for myself. I want to live that way, me and my family and my children. And I know that in order to do that, I'm going to have to show up in the way that they're presenting it. I'm going to have to look that way. I'm going to have to dye my hair. I'm going to have to wear these clothes. I'm going to have to pretend that my life is something that it's not. And that's where all the Instagram and the TikTok fluff comes from, because most people are not even living what's being shown or presented online. That's not even their life. So instead of talking about the reality of our condition as a people and making it so that we are living a good lifestyle, a great lifestyle in real life, a great lifestyle is having your own food. So if all these markets shut down, we're still good. That's having a good lifestyle. Agriculture. A good lifestyle is having our own doctors so that we're not having our babies being killed in a hospital. We're not having all of these malpractices. We're not having medical apartheid. We're not having this racist experience when we show up in the doctor's office or show up in the hospital. We're not having our men and our women being experimented on. That's a great lifestyle. Having food, having shelter, and being able to reproduce among self and kind. But that's the true Black woman and the true Black man, or African woman and African man. That is a good lifestyle, because then we can live in our glory. Then we can see the Most High inside of each other, because we're not seeing the little white girl and the little white boy that's acting out and that can't get along and that has a problem with each other, and that the Black man is bad and the white and the Black woman is bad. And we're not having these experiences because we're living in our truth. And the truth will make you free. Not set you free, the truth will make you free, but it's freeing you from the illusion, and it's placing you in reality. It's placing you where the Most High said, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. It's placing you in intelligence. And I know I say that a lot, but it's the truth, right? Because the illusion makes you unintelligent. The illusion makes you wait for someone to serve you. The illusion makes you wait for someone to come out the sky and save you. That's the fairy tale. The fairy tale is being saved. So as long as I believe the fairy tale, I'm always going to wait for someone to save me in some type of way. I'm never going to get up, stand up. I'm never going to get up and make it happen. My teacher says the helping hand you're looking for is at the end of your own arm. But if I'm waiting for someone to come and save me, I would never use my own abilities. I would never use my own God-given abilities, the Most High given abilities, to do and to become the best version of myself, the most glorified version of myself. I won't use my abilities that was given to me, that was instilled in me from on high, because I'm waiting for someone else to do it. And most of the time, that someone else that we think is going to do it doesn't look like us. So you're already placing yourself in a position because you think that the person that's going to save you is white and you're Black. So that means that you're not good enough to save yourself. So you are inferior in your thinking. You are inferior in your expectations. You are inferior in this system of racism, white supremacy. So until we remove ourselves, as the scripture teaches us, until we believe in the scriptures, know the scriptures through African eyes, African ears, African mouth, African tongue, and in that, it's a wrap for us. So yeah, get ready for tonight. I pray to see y'all on a Vantage Point. I'm done. That's it. That's all. I have no more. I do have more, but I would like my teacher who does it best. So